Welcome to Pulitzer Day. Today's the day where reporters all over the country congratulate themselves for what a great job they're doing with their newspapers, even though their newspapers are all falling off the cliff. On the way over the cliff, the last thing they say is, "We're doing a great job." That's what the Pulitzers are. Anyway, today, if you look at the people who got the Pulitzers, probably, I don't know, I counted them earlier today. I think I counted 5, might have been 4. There were 4 or 5 stories that got Pulitzers for exposing this relentless black victimization at the hands of relentless white racism all the time, everywhere. That explains everything. Of course, but my favorite Pulitzer was not related to racial violence and denial. My favorite Pulitzer went to the Washington Post and the New York Times for exposing alleged ties between Trump and the Russian government. You get a Pulitzer now for reporting allegations. How you like that? Anyway, sometimes, so reporters all throughout the year and newspapers, they're chasing Pulitzers. They know when they come on a story that maybe if they, throw a lot of reporters into one thing at one time, they might luck out and get a Pulitzer. And that's what happened down in Chattanooga. We're going to see that story, hear about that story in a minute. You guys who have read Don't Make the Black Kids Angry already know what that story is. But why don't we go to a more recent story in Chattanooga, where it shows that the local media in Chattanooga kind of got, they're kind of like a dog that got whipped. You could see them running around with their tail twixt their leg. Let's see just one big example in Chattanooga of how black violence and criminality is so huge, it's bigger than the ability of local media to ignore, deny, condone, excuse, and even lie about it.
And welcome in a crime tracker alert in a groundbreaking day for Chattanooga, where more than charges.
That includes 5 previously unsolved homicides, including the kidnapping and murder of Bianca Horton.
All right, here's why this is so groundbreaking for the county. District Attorney Neil Pinkston announced today that he is using the state racketeering law to go after a Chattanooga gang for the first time. That law includes criminal gang offenses as racketeering activity.
With the help of countless law enforcement agents, officials were able to recover weapons and drugs as part of the operation. You can see some of that in this picture. K-9 officers helped track down the criminals, and here you see one of those gang members being arrested today. The chief of police said they will continue to crack down on gang violence in the community.
If you continue to choose to do harm and inflict violence in this community, everything that we can do as law enforcement, and that's the law enforcement community as a whole, everything that we can do to help you not inflict any more harm or violence, we will do that. If that is to help you get out of the cycle of violence that you are in, we will work towards that. But if it's also to make it to where you cannot inflict any harm on anyone else by being in custody, we will do that as well.
News 2's Brent Ramadna went to Chattanooga earlier this week and talked with officials about the gang problem before this announcement was even made.
And not only does social media help officials catch criminals, but it's also leading to an uptick in crime and gang violence.
With the proliferation of social media over the last really 10 years, we've seen a very, very big uprise in a lot of younger members joining gangs and just the numbers skyrocketing.
All right, some of the arrests made have helped solve years-old murders in that county. The following are charged with murder: Cortez Sims for the 2014 murder of 13-year-old DeAndre Southers, Cordell Collier, Martrell Arnold, and Johnny Clemens for the 2014 murder of Cedric Mikes, Andre Greer, Charles Shelton, and Courtney High, who each could face the death penalty for the 2016 murder of Bianca Horton. Horton was killed to prevent her from testifying at trial that she apparently witnessed Cortez Sims' murder. Talitha Bowman. Courtney High for 2016 murder also of Jerica Jackson and Marquise Jackson.
Well, nearly half of the 54 defendants are in prison on previous charges.
Okay, so that's Chattanooga today. My favorite story on Chattanooga comes from Don't Make the Black Kids Angry. The big daily newspaper in Chattanooga, Chocolate City, was doing they thought they would do a public service by doing this big story about criminality. And they were really driving the story. There were too many criminals, too much crime in Chattanooga. So what they did was they picked up this model that we've heard about a lot here. What the model is, the cops identify who the criminals are, the ne'er-do-wells are. They knock on their door and they give them 3 choices. 1, quit committing crime. 2, leave Chattanooga. Or 3, go to jail. That's your choices. And after about 3 months of that, 6 months of that in Chattanooga, The cops went around, they arrested 30, this is different than the story we just read, this is a couple years ago. The newspaper was driving this, and the cops went around and arrested 33 people, and they put their pictures on the front page of the Chattanooga paper. If that picture looks familiar, it's because that's the picture I used for the cover of Don't Make the Black Kids Angry. Anyway, so the newspaper editors, they know they've got something good on their hands because they're driving the story. They've got all the reporters on it. They're going to have a follow-up. The follow-up, according to the paper, they're going to have a big meeting, all the editors standing at a podium, the editors, the writers. They're going to say, here's what we're going to do next to get this crime in Chattanooga under control. There's 100, 200 people in this room. Editors were absolutely astonished at what happens next. And by the way, we're going to run, while I talk here, I'll run some of the pictures of some of the 54 fellas that were arrested in Chattanooga today. But just remember, as you watch these pictures, race had nothing to do with it. Anyway, so the editors go into this room. They're sitting up on a podium. They are ready, man. They're already, the only thing they're thinking about is their acceptance speech for the Pulitzer, and a few months later, they get up there, and almost everybody that spoke, dozens and dozens of people in the room got up there and said, why did you call the people you put on the front page of your paper, why did you call them the worst of the worst? Didn't you notice they were all black? Didn't you notice that there were no white people in that picture? Are you trying to say no white people are committing crimes in Chattanooga? This went on for hours. And the editors and the reporters, everybody was just astonished the level of pushback the newspaper and the mayor and the police department got for going out and rounding up all these criminals. Because in the world of Chattanooga, in the world of these chocolate cities, black people are not criminals, they are victims. They're victims of white racism. That's the only reason why all those black people were arrested then. It's the only reason they're arrested today. And this is the theme that plays out in hundreds of cities around the country. Crime is the new black entitlement. And if you go around arresting black people, like we saw in the Starbucks in Philly the other day, for breaking a law, and their case was trespassing. I mean, they had no more right to be in Starbucks than they had a right to be in the mayor's, sitting in the mayor's office. But they came and kicked them out because crime is the new black entitlement in Philly. It's the new black entitlement in Chattanooga. All because the reporters and public officials and lots of other people there just don't want to make the black kids angry.